isn't. Hey, this is the Animal Crossing podcast. I'm N64 Josh with
N64 Jen.
And this is episode 1. So we're going to kind of just talk about like why we're doing this and let you guys kind of get to know us a little bit and how much we love Animal Crossing, which, I mean, that's really the reason we're doing this, right? Because we love Animal Crossing. So let's start, and to give you guys an idea, just kind of a breakdown of what this show is going to be like. We're gonna talk about news as it shows up, but the focus of this show isn't necessarily news. It's more like a conversation of what's gonna be going down week to week in our towns. Like, this is just we're excited for the game coming to the Switch. And so, you know, like I said, as we get news about the game, well, of course we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about some of our, like, you know, the things we want in the new game. Things like that, but for the most part, it's just kind of going to be like a conversation show. Now, if you want like Nintendo news, hey, guess what? I do the Nintendo Powercast, and you can go check that out on iTunes, Google Play, and that kind of stuff. But we're going to start just by letting you guys get to know us a little bit. So, Jen, let's talk about like just pre-Animal Crossing. Like, let's go way back in the time machine here. When did you start gaming? What games did you start with?
I started with a regular Nintendo back in the 80s, right?
Well, don't tell them the 80s. We don't want them to know how old we are.
I was just a baby.
Back in 89, we were just
born.
Yeah, just born.
In the womb.
No. Yeah.
I was flying. Yeah, Duck Hunt and Mario. And from there went... probably Tetris and
Captain Skyhawk, right? We had to hunt that one down.
Captain Skyhawk and Top Gun.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a few of those RC Pro-Am.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember release times, but, you know, back to the original.
Right. For sure. And then after the NES, you kind of had a little bit of a lull in gaming, right? There wasn't much.
Yeah, my family never had anything after that. So I would play a Super Nintendo if we went to a friend's house. And that was about it. I hardly ever played that system.
So I grew up NES, got the system for Christmas in like 87, 88, and just absolutely adored Super Mario Brothers. As you can tell from my hat, if you're watching the video here, it's got the NES controller on it. The first game I played was The Legend of Zelda, actually, and I wasn't allowed to play that because it had magic in it, and that was against the rules in my house.
I love Zelda.
Yeah, I know. We've almost completed that together. We should complete that on stream one day.
Oh wait, which one?
Yeah, the first Legend of Zelda.
We did it together?
Remember we have a save file on the Wii U?
Yeah.
And we used to play it in the living room of our last house?
Yep.
You don't remember, do you?
Yep.
We were on the 6th dungeon?
Yeah. Oh, I do remember. Yeah.
So you guys are going to find out that as we record, sometimes these are going to be like, it's almost like 50 First Dates. There's a lot of things that she will forget. So yeah, we're almost through the Legend.
Okay.
I've never actually completed it. So that was we downloaded maps on iPads and we were scoping stuff out. And
we don't even have the original one anymore?
No, I never had the original one.
So I did, and we would have to like tape it back together because we'd always have it open and it'd rip on the creases and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Although, I might have it now.
Ooh.
We'd have to go look because somebody sent me a copy of Legend of Zelda, and I believe the book is with it. I don't know if the poster's in there. We'll have to check. We'll check.
That'd
Who
be
knows?
fun.
Maybe. But so yeah, NES, huge. Like, I love DuckTales, Ninja Turtles, anything Mario, of course. Mario 3 was like such a big deal with the Wizard. Do you remember seeing commercials for the Wizard and seeing Mario 3? No. When we watched The Wizard recently, is that your new favorite movie?
Yeah.
Do you remember watching that movie?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay. Well, that's good. So, yeah, for me, and then Super Nintendo, I got Christmas as well. Street Fighter 2, Super Mario World, Super Metroid, one of my favorite games. Just lots of memories with both those systems. But then the 64.
Yes.
The 64.
Very fond of memories.
Do you remember when I got the 64?
Kind of. I think I do.
I'm just curious, like, because I mean, I kind of remember.
I just feel
I'm just
like
curious
you called and told me that you got it. You got something fun for us. We weren't together when you bought it, but we were dating.
Okay, yeah.
And you said you had a surprise and something fun for us to do together or whatever so that's all I remember.
Okay, so I remember going to, I believe it was Fred Meyer, and because I really was just thinking about stuff for us to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think I never bought Mario 64. I bought Mario Kart and GoldenEye.
Yeah. And
we played so much of that. And then the single player game I bought was Star Wars, because I was a big Star Wars fan back then. And so hours and hours and hours of Mario Kart and
GoldenEye.
And GoldenEye. Yeah, like so much time.
Yeah. Yeah, good times.
Yeah, really good times. And then that system we played like wrestling games. We even have there's a YouTube video of her and I.
It's like a 30-minute match.
20-30 minute match, and then she finally beats me, and it was pretty tragic, I think.
It was awesome. You should find it.
Yeah, maybe I'll try to get it in the show notes for you guys to see, because it was crazy, and the stream was going nuts. The Twitch stream was going crazy as we were doing that. So, other games, Perfect Dark, Turok 2 was the main one that we used to play multiplayer all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you can even fast forward, like we got married, we were still playing the 64. You played through Perfect Dark all on your own while I was working.
Yeah.
When you got pregnant with our first child, I played through Donkey Kong 64 while I would lay on the couch, you would lay on top of me and sleep, and I would just play through that game for hours and hours and hours. And so it's I know it's a game that not a lot of people love, but those memories were fun, right? Like those are fond memories. So, yeah, we've been gaming together, and we'll still, like, on our wedding anniversaries, we'll pull out Mario Kart 64, and that'll be what we do. So, but then the GameCube.
Yes.
You tell this story.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. No, you tell it better. I'll forget. Leave out details. I just remember it was coming out, and you wanted one, and we were newly married and having our first baby, so not a lot of extra cash, and I was working at a coffee shop, and somehow, I don't even remember, was able to save my tips without you knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And then talked with a friend who helped get me the system, and I was able to surprise you with it for Christmas.
Yeah, but then you also talked to all of our family and friends, and I
let everybody know that I was getting it, but hey, I need help getting games and controllers and memory cards and all that good, all the jazz.
Yeah, so, literally every house we went to, there was some kind of GameCube accessory or new game. Like, I think by the time it was all said and done, I had Smash Bros, I had Star Wars, I think we had Extreme G Racing, we had a couple of controllers. The only thing I think we were missing was memory cards. I think were the only things we had to go and get the next day on the 26th. And so that system was so, that was kind of that was like us, right? Like after the 64, the GameCube really, we played a lot on it. And then here comes this. And we tried to we wanted to relive the glory days of Mario Kart, Double Dash. We didn't play it that much.
Yeah.
Do you remember playing it much?
No, not really.
Yeah, we didn't play it that much. And then we had there was Agents Under Fire was a James Bond game.
Right. But I think I remember. Was that the one with the sniper?
Where you would there would be a hostage there would be a person.
Train. Yeah. I do remember that a little bit, but still nowhere near like GoldenEye.
No. And so it wasn't until, and I mean, I play a lot of games on the GameCube, Metroid Prime, Wind Waker, Zelda, things like that. I can remember Resident Evil. I mean, there's just so many games.
Yeah.
But there was one game in particular that is the game that we're kind of focused on for this show, and that was Animal Crossing.
Yes.
And we had no clue what this game was. Like we're looking through Game Pro or Nintendo Power magazines. You have to remember the internet wasn't all that prominent back then. I mean, there was chat rooms and things like that, but you weren't like regularly just going and you wouldn't fire up a video and go watch a video for Animal Crossing. I mean, who knows? I can go back and look. You might be able to find old commercials, which are kind of creepy from my understanding. I'll try to find some of them.
Funny. That would be fun to see.
They're like the villagers in giant costumes and stuff, and they're kind of creepy. They're kind of creepy. But so, I mean, what do you remember about?
I wish I remembered getting it or, knowing about it and wanting it. I don't remember. I mean, other than just playing and falling in love with it and being completely addicted.
So I remember getting it.
You do?
I do remember getting it. It was probably, I want to say we picked it up at, for some reason where we live, there was like a Safeway and a Walmart real close to each other. And I remember, and it was also close to our house. And so I want to say that's probably where we got it, was from Walmart. Because I remember, and it's a little bit like, it's a little foggy, but I remember opening it up in the car and just looking at the box and just being like, what the heck is this game? It comes with its own memory card, and kind of talking about it as we were driving home. It wasn't a long drive, but I remember that for some reason, I remember that corner by Taco Bell and everything, and having the game and getting home and firing it up. And then
well, and I think you got it mostly for me because, cutesy and kind of just a fun little. I didn't think you expected to like it as much as you did.
I don't think I did expect to like it, honestly.
I don't think so. I think it was mostly something, hey, let's, try this. Maybe you'll like it and get into it. Because, I hadn't played that many games recently, on the Cube and stuff. And I think it did surprise you at how, I think watching me, as it unfolded, you started to be like, hey.
Yeah, all of a sudden I'm like, I want a mortgage.
Yeah.
I want to go in debt to Tom Nook. Like, what?
Let me go to work every day.
I'm like, I think the kid needs to be fed, or no, we were.
So I don't remember, when did it come out? He was born.
He was born. Yeah. Yep. So I think that's why I was like, don't you need to feed the baby or change a diaper or something?
Probably, yeah.
I want to turn. So. But yeah, so I mean, let's just kind of break that down, like starting the game for the first time, and again, this is not gonna. I mean, this is like 18 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago, and so by 17 years ago, maybe. What do you remember? Like, what was it about the game that was like, I can't stop playing this, I can't put it down?
Yeah. I think for me, a lot of it is always having a list of accomplishments, like paying off the first you start with a mortgage, like you said. And so you always have these goals, and I also like to collect things, and they give you a long list of things you can collect. And so it kept you wanting to. Well, and it was brand new. Right now, we go into playing Animal Crossing with expectations, but then we had no idea we didn't know what each day held. We didn't know.
Right.
We didn't know if we spent enough bells that the store would get bigger. We didn't know a lot of things that we now know and, anticipate happening, but it was just all new. It was a new idea, a new way of playing a game that I'd never experienced before.
Yeah, and even going back to it now, and seeing the way the screen moves, because you can only load so much at a time, right? It's not like it was not like New Leaf where you can go anywhere, or Wild World, or that kind of stuff where it was like, oh, you've got a small window that you can see what's happening, and then the screen shifts, right? So it was just it was different. It was one of those things that it was like, you know, and that's part of what this episode is going to be too. Like we wanted you guys to get to know us, but then we also just want to talk about what is Animal Crossing, like why the draw, and a lot of it is that there's so much to do. Like when you first start the game, it's almost like this is overwhelming. How can I do this? And then, you know, and the things have gotten so much better over time. I mean, if you remember, so you need tools, right? Because you're going to dig up fossils. You're going to go fishing. You're going to catch bugs. You can chop trees down and replant new trees. And you're going to be collecting fruit so that you can sell it and turn that into bells. And then the bells are how you pay. It's the currency. That's how you pay your mortgage back. Well, you used to have to open your menu, select the tool that you wanted, put it on your character, and then you could close that menu and then use that tool. And it was like, we didn't know any different at the time, but now with New Leaf, they're shortcuts on the D-pad, right? Yeah. And so it's like you can bounce between 4 different items just by hitting up, left, down, or you know, left or right, and that kind of stuff. And so there were so many just quality of life things that have improved over with each game. And so the thing that, like, to kind of get back to like what is Animal Crossing, it's like you essentially you move into your character moves into a town. You are greeted by somebody on a bus, which then helps you. The questions you answer help dictate what your character looks like, right? And so your hairstyle, the way your eyes are, that kind of thing. And so if you want to be able to make sure, like, you can look ahead of time and see, like, okay, I want to look like this. You just have to make sure you answer correctly according to the game, so that you can look the way you want. But so you get into town, and then in the first game, and it's pretty much been the same every time, Tom Nook shows up and he's like, "Hey, I have a house for you. I'll you'll pay me. You'll just have to pay me back. You know, I think the first game was like 19,000 bells, right? And you go and shake your first tree, and you go and get a couple pieces of fruit, and you sell them, and it's like 30 bells, and you're like, what?
It's gonna take a while.
This is going to take quite a while. So it's like, okay, well, now's really where the fun begins, because if you want to focus on your mortgage, that's what you can do. You can fish, you can catch bugs, you can plant a bunch of fruit trees, collect that fruit, resell it, and pay that mortgage down. And then once you pay your mortgage down, well, then your house expands. So do you remember the route you took in the first game? Like, it's so long ago, right?
I know. Well, and I know I don't recall him giving you the tools you need, and so you did have to, find what, before you even had tools, you had to shake the trees. Once you shook a tree, it took 3 days for the fruit to grow back. So you could shake your entire town's worth of trees, and then you're like, okay, now what? And so, but talking to neighbors would give you money, or I'm sorry, they wouldn't give you money, but they'd give you like furniture items and sometimes clothing items that you could sell. So you found ways to make money, but then you'd have to buy your tools. I don't remember how long it took me to pay off my mortgage, but I remember that feeling of like, oh, okay, you gotta get creative, because what do you do until you can even, You
kind of just have to realize that you're in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not like, it's one of those things that it kind of sounds daunting, but it really isn't.
It's not. It's so fun.
There's so much fun
and it doesn't take that long. I mean, it really doesn't.
And once you pay the first one off, you then get to upgrade your house, right? Because that's another factor of Animal Crossing, is that you're decorating, you're creating and kind of making the game fit your style, and you can play it how you want to. Like, I've known people that, like, the thing that they really enjoyed doing was getting into the game and creating, like, my uncle put my face in Animal Crossing. So I have townspeople running around that have my face on their hats, on their shirts. I have I think a flag with it on my door is my face. And so some people just like creating like patterns, things like that. That's what they enjoy. It kind of gets to the point like after you've paid all of your mortgage off and you've kind of got your house how you want it, and there's kind of some rare items to collect, at least in the new games, like in New Leaf, where you got the fortune cookies where you can, unlock like different Nintendo items and things like that. Once that stuff's all done, your mortgage is paid down. Now you're just saving money, and the more money you save, like in your savings account, there's a chance like once you hit $1 million, you get a special item.
Right.
Right. And so there's still incentives just to keep going.
Right.
And keep playing. So what is it like after your mortgage is paid off, and so the other thing too is you have a museum that you're digging up fossils.
I was going to say there's so much more than just your mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So and back to the very first one, again, we didn't know what to expect. So you would go to the store and there would be a piece of furniture in there. But that furniture is a piece of like part of a set of like 12 items. And so, but you never know when they're going to have that whole set in. And so you just want to buy stuff regularly, and it keeps a catalog for you, and you could see it starting to form, sets. And then you realize, oh, okay, some stuff's really cutesy. Some stuff's more like for kids. Some, they have like music theme, there's just all these themes. And so there is all of that. But then, you've got your museum to fill, which is bugs, fish, and art, like the paintings.
And fossils.
Mm-hmm. And then...
Which fossils are a good way to make money, too, because like what happens, like, let's say you get like a T-Rex skull, and you've already delivered it to your museum. It's already there. You can then go and sell it, and sometimes those were worth, depending on what your fossil was, it may be worth a couple thousand bells, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, and then you could collect the gyroids in that first one too, right? Or I mean, you can collect them in all of them. They turn to gyroids, but there was actually a place to go and turn them in, I believe.
I don't remember. I know you could
down
display
in the
them.
basement.
You could just display them in your house and stuff like that, but I don't remember.
So I mean, you had lots of different goals and things you could do. I mean, there's always things would change. They'd have special events with different seasons, different holidays. That always kept things new and fresh as well.
And you would do more stuff like that, like especially in the newer games. I really didn't care all that much for the...
That's how you get some of your rare items. But then even the fishing and the bug hunting every season, it's about every season, every 3 months or so, they switch what bugs you can get. So like the tarantula and the scorpion, you can only get in summer nights, and it has to be late at night. You don't always, I think actually the tarantula might be during the day too, but the scorpion's late at night. And, but if you don't catch them during the summer, then you kind of have to wait till next year.
But I'm even talking about the
actual events.
Like doing this, like making the snowmen and having to have them.
See, that was fun in the first one because you could go into their igloos. There'd be igloos, and you would play a game, and they would have they'd give you like multiple choice or something, and you'd pick a number, and they'd tell you if you're right or not, and then you could win stuff from your neighbors that way too. In the first one,
I don't even remember because I don't remember doing it all that much. Because like I said, that wasn't that wasn't something for me that I was all that interested in.
Yeah,
but at the same time, if you wanted to complete a certain furniture set, you have to participate in this kind of stuff, and it only happens it is by season, right?
Yeah.
And then like she was saying too, the bugs and stuff are by season. The bugs, the fish, that kind of stuff. Some of them are more, and now and then, like the newer games, you can go out swimming and actually like, come back with like an oyster and different things like that, crabs, that kind of stuff. And those are tied to different seasons. So you want to make sure that like, okay, it's part of the draw to come back to the game is like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I'm fishing enough to catch all the fish for this season. And I'm going to get all my bugs for this season. And I'm going to get, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And so, so the thing is you once you catch one, you kind of have a little like a little book, more or less, that kind of like a little, you can kind of check off, hey, I've got this fish, I've got this. You're not going to know what seasons they are unless you use a strategy guide or something like that. And we've always purchased the strategy guide with Animal Crossing just because it's like, well, wait a minute, if this fish is only for this season, I want to make sure I can know that. And there's really no way of knowing it outside of that. And so, but sometimes there's typos, sometimes they're not right. Like there were things that were off in the, even in New Leaf, the guide would say one thing, and then you go online and it's like, it's not that time, it's this time, or,
Right.
So And there's such a huge community. I mean, these are very popular games, and there's such a huge community online that are constantly like creating just like online strategy guides and things like that. So if you get lost, you can easily find stuff.
Yeah, there's lots of answers out there if you want them now. But at the beginning, it was a little more tricky. I remember one of the things you'd have to do is check daily. You could have a perfect town, but you'd have to go in daily and ask, is my town perfect? And then they'd give you little hints about that. Like, and it boiled down to like even how many trees you had, how close together they were, if you talked to your neighbors and did errands for them or whatnot, how happy they were. It all played into that as well.
Yeah, and thankfully there's like, again, the quality of life stuff like in New Leaf and things like that, where like, because if you neglect your town, weeds are going to grow. And then if weeds grow, you're going to lose your perfect rating. And so there's like ordinances that you can set up. Like if you want your town to be beautiful, there'll be like 3 weeds that grow a day. And then I think they disappear. So like every time you log in, if you wait a week or something, you're only going to see like a small handful of weeds, and it's not going to ruin your perfect rating. Because when you have a perfect rating, special flowers grow, Jacob's ladders grow, and so
in the new one,
in New Leaf, and so there's just so many. Like I said, there's so many different things to do, and then. Like what was fun with the original game, you could hook up a Game Boy Advance, go to Game Boy Island, and then you could participate in things there. You could actually, in the first game, there was classic NES games that were available, and you could play them. You could play Excite Bike, you could play Donkey Kong. There was just my basement in the original game is just full of original NES consoles, and I love that. I'm really hoping we see something come back. In New Leaf, they brought in a Wii U and a 3DS, and that allowed you to play specific games that were made for Animal Crossing, which is cool. Like, bring that on, give us leaderboards. It's just another reason to fire up the game. So, what for you is just the overall biggest draw? Like, why are you excited to jump back into another Animal Crossing? Even though there's not huge changes throughout each one. What keeps you coming back?
I just think, there's the curiosity just of what is new, what did they change, but I don't know, there's fond memories that are tied to it, so there's like a nostalgia, but then it's fun for me. It's fun to be able to decide how I want to decorate my house and change it with all the seasons, or you get to decide, things within your town. You can have, everybody's town is completely different. You can build different things than other people, so that's kind of fun to just be able to personalize it and make it your own. I like to collect things. I just like to check it off and say I have it all. I have an app on my phone right now that I can look through and see what furniture I still don't even have all of, and it's just, I don't know, it's just fun for me to complete a game like that. And it's cute, it's fun, it's relaxing. It's not intense, and like, you don't have to play every day. So there's not like that, oh, I gotta play, but it's just fun to play.
Yeah. And that's a good point. Like, you don't have to play every day, but it's the kind of game that once you kind of get stuff paid off and whatnot, you can kind of sign in for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half hour, knock out a few things, and then you can put as much time into it as you want. Yeah, one of the things we would love to do in New Leaf is just kind of go and fish at the end of as evening would roll around. Not fish, I'm sorry. We would go and catch beetles were the most valuable thing. And if you go to the island, you could set your island up in a certain way that you kind of you only catch rare beetles or more expensive beetles, and just, make a ton of cash that way. Yeah, really fast. So, but okay, well, I think that's going to do it for our first episode. We kind of, like I said, we want to let you guys get to know us, and then kind of just answer the question, like, what is Animal Crossing? And so we're going to look more at the first game, maybe give a little more, like, give some history of it, a little more of our history, because we still have some fun stories to share with the first game. And then, as well as Wild World, like, that game got her through quite a bit of stuff. And then, City Folk, I didn't play much. We didn't think she played much, and then we turned their save file on the other day. And we were like, you played this more than you remember, apparently. So, but if you guys want to follow us on Twitter, I'm at N64Josh. She's at N64Jen. We need reviews on iTunes once this finally hits. So if you got a second, you can leave a review. If you're enjoying this kind of thing, let us know. And thank you so much, Jen. Thanks for taking the time.
Fun.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye now.